I guess I said something rude. Might have pissed him off. There he goes. I want to see if he'll come over to this cove just to see if there's another osprey over here. I don't know. I'm not the osprey whisperer. I'm just mimicking the sound of the osprey over there. Don't be fooled. I'm not some magic mystical freaking bird caller that the birds come flying over when I chirp. This is reality, not Lord of the Rings. Morning, Dorcas. And that canoe's sitting low in the water. It looks like it's full of rain right now. Rained pretty hard yesterday evening. I got the feeling I'm going to have some bailing to do when I get up before I can go into town. Sunshine, palm trees, and alligators. Well, there's a few palm trees around, hidden around throughout here. It's mostly mangroves and ferns, though. And the crabapple tree over there. There's wild fruit growing on the edge of this cove, like right on the other side of these ferns. And it's just about right. They're starting to get ripe. But the critters get them before I have not managed to get one single ripe fruit off of any of them around here because the critters get them before they turn ripe. Susan, Max, welcome back. Yeah, I've been sipping on coffee this morning since like 4:30. This back is killing me today. Last night, really, kind of slept on my side and twisted it around and woke up. It's a little better than it was when I went to sleep. Freaking yoga my way into health. Dorcas. I think I said morning already. If not, morning. Think I may have to go into town pretty early today. Just grab tobacco and coffee. Somebody getting their house re-roofed right on the other side of that island. That's what you're hearing. Like a screw gun or something. Yeah, town visit means canoe trip. But it's gonna take me a minute to work up to it. Still gotta brush my teeth, clean my grit from my fingernails, and all that shit. I'll do my shower after I'm done with the freaking fiberglass today. I'm hoping to get a little fiberglass layup done on the bulkhead after I get back. You don't. A bulkhead on a boat is, well, it offers several things. It lends structural strength to the boat, to the hull shape, but it also is like a water barrier, and often is installed in ships to create like a air pocket in a certain part of the ship. So if you close a porthole and bolt it shut, and that compartment fills with air or water, so you get a big hole in the boat, that area fills with water. Anybody trapped in there drowns, but the rest of the ship stays floating. So it's kind of as a, in this place, it's going to take the place of an interior wall, add structural support to the hull, and also create a little cabinet on the side to store things out of the way of the bed. And also it's going to give me a little spot to install some switches and panels and stuff, hide wires, run wires where they don't get snagged from people getting in and out and stuff. Fiberglass doesn't have to be nasty work. in this kind of situation. It's really all about, like, if you're doing it commercially, it's nasty, but if you're just doing a project on your boat and you take your time, it's really all about all the prep work. If you do the prep work right, you can sit there in shorts and flip-flops and do all kinds of fiberglass and never get itchy. Sanding is probably the most, like, if you have to contain all the fibers getting ground off. Like, unless you're at a marina in the spot where they just rinse it into the filter, but like, especially out here, I can't do any grinding on the exterior of the boat. This is up inside the hull, and I put netting around between it and the bed, and I put up barriers and trap it all in that one area, and then I just keep sweeping and vacuuming that area and keeping the dust down. Keep it out of the bilge so that it doesn't get pumped out. And that's just a matter of using a lot of wet rags, like wet towels around the area that catch the dust. And man, the tools I'm using I'm not using a big right angle grinder. I'm using a little diamond tipped grinding wheel on the end of my drill. And it's real slow going, but it's very small area. I'm working at a time, and it's kind of like tedious little tiny tools. I'm not making a dust cloud, and I'm like wrapped under these tarps so there's no wind blowing it around. And yeah, I sit down in that little corner in my shorts, because if I get it on my skin, I need to go rinse it off before. I don't want clothes on trapping it against my skin. I just want to go rinse it off. Cold water rinse. But for the most part, I just keep it off of me just by working a small area and keeping it neat and tidy and just not letting the dust get out of hand. If I was in a, if I'm working with a right angle grinder inside, I'm going to plastic off that area, run an air conditioner into it, where it just blows the cold air in but doesn't draw from that room. So your positive pressure, you don't want it like drawing through the air conditioner. Then you got to change the filter on the air conditioner. But put on a paper suit with a vapor barrier and a respirator, at least a dust mask. But yeah, that's breathing. That is not an option. That's pretty much guaranteed silicosis in your lungs. But yeah, if you just get some towels wet and hang them like wall barriers around the area that you're grinding, and in between you and it, where you can, you got to obviously leave some room for your arms and tools to get in there, and you want to make sure that no rags or anything snags on the tool you're working on. So you need a foot or two between you and the workspace with those rags. But wet rags do a lot to catch the dust. And I take a little towel and wet it and put it between the workspace and the bilge so that none of it can wash down into the bilge. It just kind of catches and traps, and I wipe it upward away from the bilge. Just keep sweeping. And but I mean, if you saw the grinding wheel, you'd understand how I'm keeping it really localized and just doing small areas at a time. Well, like I said, Susan, if I were working in with the tools and in such an environment where it was dust in my face, I would definitely have to wear one. But this isn't that kind of situation. I have to show you the tools and what they do. Like, this thing grinds. It's a diamond tipped steel bit, so I can actually wet the bit itself. So as I'm grinding, the glass actually like kind of bonds with the material that I'm grinding, and it turns into like a sanding paste, and it stays right there in the spot on the wheel or right in under or around it because it's wet. So I'm wet sanding, but it because of the pieces of glass that get into that sand, it's actually really effective at removing the gel coat and the outer surface. And it's got a fairly light touch. It's not a high speed grinder. It's a low speed drill with a small bit. So it just goes right that in that little corner where I'm working. Now, when you're in a shipyard or a boatyard and you're laying underneath the boat grinding off anti-fouling paint and glass, if you aren't wearing coverage, you're going to be one hurting unit, very sick. You're going to, like, the anti-fouling paint is designed to prevent living organisms from growing on the boat. And it's very toxic. And you're laying under it in that dust collecting on your skin and you're sweating. A lot of the toxins absorb right into your skin. And man, you can easily give yourself an overdose of poisoning if you're not careful. Like anti-fouling paint, the toxins can absorb directly through your skin into your bloodstream. But with just fiberglass itself, the big danger is the silica getting into your lungs and giving you a form of what's called silicosis, which is a lot like cancer, just of the lungs infection. Nah, Susan, I'm not breathing it. Yes, I'm behind the wet towel and it's not spraying anywhere. It's all contained in about a 3x3 area that I'm sitting outside of when I'm working. And I also, I'm definitely not breathing the stuff. Believe me, I'm very aware of the dangers of breathing silica powder. If you ever worked with fumed silica, I mean, that is one of the most dangerous things to fiberglass workers because they don't really understand how dangerous a bucket of that stuff is just opening the lid. They think, it's not toxic to your skin. It doesn't burn or itch. But they don't realize it's super fine snowflake powders type flakes of the stuff. And the slightest little movement, like just opening the lid, causes a draft in the bucket and pulls a bunch of these flakes out into the air, and it just fluffs up right in front of you into the air. It's almost impossible to open that shit and not breathe some of it. Even in a closed room with no wind or fans, it still will puff out into the air. And you really have to make sure you're wearing breathing protection just to even open it around your, just don't do it. And definitely don't open it outside in the wind because half the bucket will fly away in the first gust. so yeah, it's highly toxic. Just the smallest flake of that gets into your lungs, and they say it's 100% guaranteed you will get silicosis. So But it's one of the most, like, it for shaping and doing certain types of fiberglass work. It's just crucial to have the stuff. Like, you gotta say you need to take some resin and thicken it into like a putty consistency. That's what you use. Just keep adding silica powder, fumed silica, until it's the consistency of the gel you want, and then work it. And it's like, I don't know, man. Especially people working with a non-fuming resin, they're not wearing a respirator, and they're mixing together epoxy or something, and they want to fume silica some there, and they don't think to put a dust mask on before opening that shit. It just takes one time, one little inhale. Another mistake people make with fiberglass work is they'll get their skin dusted with fine glass powder from grinding or whatever, get on all over their arms or chest, and go over to the air compressor and blow it off with the air compressor, with the nozzle. And you don't realize what you're doing is that air pressure blowing against your skin is pushing. Sure, most of the glass will dust off of you that way, but a good portion of it is going to embed itself into your skin deeper because you just put air pressure behind it. And that's just, oh man. Well, if you're in the open air and you got a good stiff wind and you're upwind of where you're working, and you have a good understanding of the way the material flies off the wheel you're working based on which way you're tilting it or whatever, you can safely grind outside without breathing it. If the wind changes a bit, you just walk away from it. Just don't breathe until you walk out of it. But like I said, it depends on what you're working, how dangerous it is to you. Believe it or not, glass is fairly inert unless it gets in your lungs. When it gets on your skin, it's just, yeah, I don't think I would be doing that indoors without why? If you're indoors, you're in a temperature controlled environment, it makes no sense whatsoever not to put a dust mask on, because you're not having a hard time breathing, or like, it's not like you need the fresh air. If you're doing fiberglass work indoors, there should be some really good ventilation, some fume hoods sucking a lot of fumes out really fast. There should be temperature and humidity control. It should be like right around 75 degrees. So it's a little warm, but not hot. And in fact, they actually should set their thermostats down around 73, 72, 3, because when they're doing resin, it's an exothermic reaction that's going to warm that area big time. It puts off a lot of heat. And then you got the body heat of all the people working around in there, and all the machines working. If you got machines going, all that's putting off heat. So you got to set it lower. You want it to, but you want the room to actually be sitting around 75 and as low humidity as you can get if you're working glass. If the temperature's any higher, then your workers are going to have a real hard time working the fiberglass before it starts setting up and hardening on them. And like, doesn't have a time to get the proper saturation and bond and shape. before it's already setting up. If you set it any lower, it doesn't set up. It just doesn't activate. Too much humidity and it delaminates or has moisture intrusion or whatever, you know. Don't get good bond. That's why it's really takes a special kind of talent. Like, it's one thing to do fiberglass, and it's a whole different thing to do fiberglass in Florida outdoors. Like, it's an art form because you can't follow the menu. You can't follow the recipe where it says, you know, how many drops per ounce of activator you put in it. It'll if your temperature's too high, you can flash fire the stuff by putting too much in it. But if it's high humidity and like the temperature's not right, you might have to put more activator in it than normally you would in a warehouse, and then just work it faster and do smaller sections of it in order to get it to kick before that rain cloud hits you, you know, or whatever. You know, there's people doing it outdoors are going to be cheating the freaking formula a little bit to make it work. I mean, really the best route is to wrap the whole boat in plastic wrap before you even start, and just dehumidify the chamber you're in and get it down to the right temperature, or at the right temperature, to where the stuff kicks at the right ratio, and it takes the right amount of time to work it. You know, if you do something for a living every day professionally, you can't cut corners, because you just end up losing out, having an inferior product and getting a bad name for yourself or whatever, you know, getting sued. You don't cut corners. But when you're out living daily life and you got to do a task, you know, you got to make it work with what you got and what you have and what you can do. And one way or the other, you make it work. But it's not necessarily the same way. You know, you can call any resin manufacturer and try to get them to give you like ratios to work in different conditions, different temperatures, different humidities, and they won't. They'll just give you the paperwork on the material and say, look, you got to do it in these conditions with this humidity and this ratio. And you say, but what happens if I this, that, and the other? You know, if I adjust it, they'll say, well, we don't endorse that. Like, we don't, because they can't stand by the product if it's been done differently. They can't guarantee that it'll perform the way it says it will, or that it won't just spontaneously ignite. All right, Max. Yeah, Susan, I wish your garage was in Florida, right near the waterway with a dock in the back. I could pull my boat up there and go to work. Maybe even a little boat lift. We could do marine mechanics, you know. You could do the same contracting as normal to pay for the overhead, and then the profit I make would pay for my upgrades on my vessel. I'd just sink it into the boat and channel. Oh, I see what you were talking about. Distressed properties. Well, if you're looking for that, you're talking distressed property in a commercial area or a commercial / residential edge and waterfront. Like waterfront's a whole different thing. But hey, I actually know quite a bit about site development. So if you did find the right piece of land and it was just like really in Florida, waterfront property, I recommend looking for the land that is not developed. Like don't even have a slab necessarily, but just a lot that you can bring in a shit ton of fill dirt and raise the elevation up about 6, 8, 10 feet higher than normal. Put drainage all around it, and then put your slab on that high spot. Because just expect flooding. If you're in Florida on the waterfront, expect flooding. And plan your property accordingly, man. You really got to be careful about buying property here, because you'll find there's some that look beautiful and great location right on the waterfront, but about 2 months of the year they have 1.5 feet of water inside their living room, and they can't even get flood insurance. Year after you see those properties, it's like somebody will be trying desperately to sell it for a couple years, and then somebody finally buys it without knowing the background, and then the for sale sign goes right back up in a few months. So yeah, you really want to look for something with some high elevation under the pad, or look for something undeveloped and expect, to add in the cost of developing it. And that's not cheap these days. Don't think just boat dock, think boat lift. Like, if you're going to have a boat there, how big of a boat? And then think, how are you going to get it out of the water and 10 feet higher than normal? Maybe 15 if there's a storm, like how big of a boat do you really want to work in that? Don't just think dock, because if you put the dock near the water level, it's going to be underwater half the year. If you put it above the highest water level, you can't reach the boat. Like you've fallen off the cliff to fall into your boat, and you can't climb in and out of your boat. You're climbing up a ladder onto the dock, and that's no fun. So you got to think dock above the highest high line, or maybe it's underwater for a couple weeks here and there, like a few inches of water, but then that goes down onto a floating dock that can be removed. So when the water gets way too high or a hurricane's coming, you just unpin the floating dock and remove it completely so it doesn't cause damage. But you want a floating dock with a ramp going between your your seawall and where you get on and off your boats. And then next to it, you want a boat lift that lifts the boat 10 feet out of the water, completely off the surface of the water, or some kind of way like a boat well and a high lift that you can put it on land onto a trailer or whatever. Maybe if you want to go simple and small, just go with a trailer boat launch, down into the water, that you can just back a trailer into the water. Some boat yards back in the day would have these little rollers, sort of like train carts, like small steel wheels on a train track, and a cable and hoist that would hoist really big boats up out of the water, or lower them back into the water. It was a simple and cheap way to set up a boat lift. But yeah, marine world is a whole different thing than just setting up an auto mechanic shop. There's money in it down here, though. If you say you build a boat, you can build a boat here and sell it for, just sell that model. Like, we can design our own boat model and just make a badass boat that kicks ass and sell a bunch of the same. Once you make a form, it's creating the design from scratch to finish is expensive. But once you build that form and it works out right, and you're just fill it, press it, vacuum it, wait overnight, pop it open, and there's a new boat. You're turning out boats like you could produce a boat a day. With each form. Set up the form that day. You got a crew pouring and setting forms, and pulling out the next day. So for every form you got a boat a day. Sure, it takes another few days to put that boat all together, but that's another crew doing it. It's like assembly line. Once the first boat gets to the end of the assembly line, you have a boat per day coming out. And then you actually need a boat sales, a separate company to handle the freaking, the storefront. I think I'd want to be more like Lamborghini, where we don't make a form really for, like, we don't do production. Like, each boat is custom made different. I think that would make it a lot more money. It would make it more valuable. Put a little more money into them to making them a little bit higher performance, whatever, and like make each one custom made different. No forms, no production line, just like start to finish, same craftsman doing the whole thing. You wouldn't be able to make as many, but you could sure charge an arm and a leg for them. Well, that's a huge investment. Like, I would say you'd probably want to just do some basic shop, like bring in customers for repairs, and like build it up to that. Boat repair is a lot cheaper and easier of an overhead to get into than boat manufacture and sale. Because, like, you could put a lot of money into making one form, building one crew, putting out one boat, and getting it on the showroom floor. And, like, how long is it before somebody actually buys it? Like, you're putting a lot of money into something that you don't see any money back for quite some time. And if that boat just sits there and doesn't get ran periodically, then it kind of goes defunct. So you have to have somebody there constantly maintaining it and keeping it up and polishing it and buffing it. And, it's like, man, you might be sitting there holding your breath for a while before, And then if the economy has struggles when you first put that boat out on the showroom floor, well, then nobody's buying boats that year. You know, just like right now, there's very few people that are going out buying houses right now. Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't even have to be a boat shop. It doesn't have to be marine related. Just do generators. Generators are really popular here in Florida. Every year when the storm season hits, people want their generators fixed that they have sitting in their garage all year and have never ran all year long for maybe a year or two, and they've just didn't notice that it won't start right now. They ran it and then didn't prep it up for storage, you know, and so the carburetor's all gummed up or whatever it be. The filter it's got bad gas, whatever, and it's some simple thing. Doesn't cost a lot to fix, just some time and maybe a fuel line or something, a filter. And then people put a lot of money into getting that done real quick during hurricane season. And then when there's no hurricanes, everybody needs their lawnmower fixed every spring. Weed eaters, and you just put up an ad for small engine repair. And this way you avoid all the drama of people bringing in their freaking daily use car to get to and from work and blaming you that they can't get to work today. It's just, people need their mower fixed, they want it done right, but it's way simpler. There's less shit to examine. It's not as complicated of a system, and their whole life isn't hanging on it being running in 2 days. So they don't tend to be as stressed out about it. They're just weighing the option of is it cheaper to fix and worth it, or should I just go buy a new mower? you know you know what? I should give you. I don't know if they're selling it. They might be turning it over, but I know a distressed property where this guy was living and hoarding right on the main street. And it's one of those residential / commercial. And they ripped the whole house down. They just stripped all the trash out of the yard, and he was out there giving as much stuff of his own stuff away as he could before he got, even after he was evicted. And they ripped the whole house down, and I think, I don't know if they built another house or actually, never mind. No, I got the backstory. I remember now. I got the backstory on that property. A developer bought that lot and the nearest other 2 lots. And they got something specific in mind. They want to build and open up. So they're not going to sell. Yeah, I'll just keep an eye out. I'll look around. She also needs something near it. If you're planning to do boat stuff or corroborate with me, it's got to be near the waterway. Doesn't have to be right on it. And I would recommend looking for something that's not right on it. you know, but something right down the road from where a small boat can be launched. And then you're just looking at trailering it, you know, because that's kind of part of the whole point of this design is it's something that'll fit on a standard trailer and go over the road easily. Of course, the trailer has to be modified to fit this style of boat, but you know, pretty much everybody builds a boat. They're going to have a trailer that's made for that boat if they want to trailer it. Well, the realtors have scouts out there constantly looking and scouring. They're going over county records and stuff. Aren't you in Florida, Susan? See, I don't think, if you're in Florida, I don't know if it makes sense to be looking for property near where I'm at, because me and everything I own is mobile, and you and everything you own is not mobile. Okay, you're in Michigan. Yeah, and I'm years away from getting there. There is waterfront there, but that would be a fine place to have a boat building factory that you could launch into Great Lakes and sail down to Florida. You know, you could easily build and launch a loop boat from the Great Lakes area. And I'll tell you honestly, it's actually cheaper and more energy efficient to warm a warehouse than it is to cool a warehouse in a hot, humid environment. And yeah, Great Lakes have massive storms, so you don't want waterfront. You just want to only produce launchable, trailerable type stuff. You know. Yeah, don't try to buy waterfront property in Florida. Don't even try to get into boat business in Florida, man. That's such a freaking cutthroat, and it's already, I mean, if you're already here, it's one thing, but that's the thing. You don't need to go to Florida to start something that ends up in Florida. Okay, Susan, actually, I got a tip for you. Look at waterfront property or near the waterfront property in Tampa Bay along the shores of the Alafaya River. You look from the mouth of Alafaya River where it empties out into Tampa Bay and all the way up to, say, Lithia Springs. And there's a lot of cheap lots, especially in, okay, you got from the mouth of the river upwards, you're going to see Gibsonton on the south side of the river and Riverview on the north side of the river. And then as you go further east, it goes into, I think, Brandon, Florida, or Bradenton, Brandon, I think. And then up into Lithia. Man, just comb that whole river for distressed properties, especially near the highways. because there's some cheap property in there on the riverfront. I'm talking like, and then also look at all the land along the bayfront property between there and Apollo Beach, because you have Bullfrog Creek, and there's all these streams that lead out into the bay that aren't necessarily big like, you know, spring-fed rivers, but they are areas where you could launch a boat, and it's well away from the rough weather. But cheap properties, you can easily launch a boat, or nearby there's a boat launch or a cheap free boat launch or whatever. That area is also, man, there's people improving a lot of it. Now, I wouldn't look direct. If you look directly north of the river, on the north edge, coming in from the mouth of the bay, you're gonna see like some natural land and a big chemical factory. There's big mounds and machinery right on the north corner. That's, I believe it's called Mosaic now. It used to be Cargill. You don't want to be anywhere near there. They occasionally have acid spills in the water that kills everything. So, and as you go east of there along the river, until you get to, I think, around 301 highway, all of that land is owned by carnies, like people that run carnivals. So you really want to look more on the south side of the river and along the bay shore down to Apollo Beach, and you know, and then the south side. And then when you get over to, say, about 301 highway and 75, you can be looking north and south, because you're getting into like a whole different town. Well, all I'm saying is, from the chemical factory at the mouth of the bay on the north side of the river to the first big main highway, past three, there's, well, not the first is 41, which, yeah, I think the chemical factories right there are at 41 pretty much. But from there to 301 is all carny land. So it's kind of like not really a good place. For one, they don't tend to want to sell to you if you're not a carny. I mean, they're not all carnies, but the people there, they tend to try to keep it carny people. And you might find that one of your neighbors is keeping like tigers in their yard, or monkeys, or like there's all kinds of weird shit going on there that you don't want you may not want your, you know, like live next to a tiger cage, in case one of them gets out and eats your kid, you know. Okay, so just look along the river. Look at where the river empties into the mouth of the bay by Highway 41. You look all the way down 41 to Apollo Beach, all of the area, look down to anywhere where there's a stream that goes out into the bay from there. All right, and then you also look at the south edge of that river going east into Brandon. Yes, Tampa Bay. Yeah, go into Tampa Bay, like follow the Skyway, like you're coming in from the ocean, and you go through the Skyway Bridge, and you go right up the middle, like you're, as if you're going to the Hillsborough Channel, but before you get to it, okay, you'll pass MacDill Air Force Base on the left, and before you get to the Hillsborough Channel at the north end of the bay, you're going to see to the right, there on to the east on the right side, there's a river going eastward inland called the Alafaya. And you go under the Highway 41 bridge. There's also a railroad bridge there. Now look at the properties all along the south edge of that river. That's what you'd be looking on the maps for when you're looking for properties. For cheap properties near the river. There's places to launch boats everywhere around that area. I think it's actually called Gibsonton. Until you get past 301 and it becomes Riverview, because you know it's like the view of the river. There's also down in Apollo Beach area, near the beach, it's really expensive, but if you go inland up the river, there's rivers going inland that goes up into Cheapland. And I'm telling you, the reason this is prime area for a business is because Tampa Bay is really, all they have is shipping industry, industrial. Like if you're not there working in one of the industrial or shipping industry, you're not shipping coal, making chemicals, or freaking working for one of these barge companies, you know, then you're working for the bar that caters to the people that work at those places, you know. It's like, man, you either own a store or there's just nothing but, for the most part. I mean, there's other stuff, but it's all funded. The whole Bay Area commerce is all funded by their industrial shipping. And yeah, somebody go in there that's not, you know, you're not looking to open a storefront. That's probably a good, all that area is prime for that kind of business. Who's Nice Guy? I don't know who Nice Guy is. That would be a funny screen name, though. Nice Sky, as in Nicesky. Yeah, Tampa is a super busy area, but it's that side of the bay is not. I'm telling you, the people from that side of the bay hate driving around the bay because they hate all the traffic on the north and west side of the bay. But the east side of the bay and the southeast side of the bay, it's actually just starting to get developed. Like, Gibsonton was never even a full township because it didn't have a big enough population to get its own mayor. So for decades that I can remember, Gibsonton wasn't even on the map. And when they did finally get it on the map, it was considered a township, and they'd have an election every year where they would elect an honorary mayor, but he didn't actually do anything. He was just like the winner of the town popularity contest. He didn't actually represent us in any kind of government. It was funny. And then there's a big shopping mall in uh, Brandon called the Brandon Mall, and it's getting huge. Okay, so as you go through Riverview, when you run into Brandon, you're getting back into heavy traffic again. But Riverview is pretty mellow, and so is Gibtown, and all the way down that edge, down 41, those properties along there into, it's like doesn't really get busy again until Apollo Beach. It's kind of no man's land, and just a bunch of people living in that backwoods pocket area. It's just starting to develop. They just got a grocery store recently, you know. Gibson Ton. Gibson Ton at the end. Or some people call it Gibtown, but I think on the map it's Gibsonton. Okay, you see Brandon. If you go west of Brandon, yeah, you run into Riverview. And the Alafia River, if you follow it past west to 301, and then you start getting toward the mouth of the bay where it empties out into Tampa Bay, that whole area there is called Gibsonton. Not Gibson. Gibson Ton. Add a ton at the end of Gibson. There you go. Okay, look at Gibsonton and Riverview area for waterfront. I'm telling you, a lot of that is like rundown old ghetto, or what do you call it? Trailer parks. But it's like half commercial, half residential, and open for either or. And then if you want, if you want, what do you call it, agricultural, you have to go over to Carneytown on the other side, which is not on the map. It's just, I think it's considered Riverview, but the north edge of it is all like, I think there's some agricultural up that way, or out toward Lithia. Yeah, right across from MacDill, straight across. You see those, there's like some square islands. Like the river empties out into the bay, and then there's these big square looking islands leading up into the mouth of the river. You go in up the river, you see mosaic. which is like a fertilizer factory. And then you see Williams Park. And on the other side of the river, you see nothing. Like kayak trails until you get to the bridge. And then after the bridge is going to be a marina, like inner bay moorings. And then the River's Edge Bar and Grill. And then just a bunch of distressed residential property. Telling you the value of that property is going up too. Oh, you're looking on an atlas. Okay, I was thinking you were using Google Maps. It's not going to show the islands on an atlas because they're like, one's a bird sanctuary and you're not even allowed to go on it, and the other is like a spoils island. I think they got an island you can camp out on across from the marina now. That used to be all wild. That island was just a spoils island across from the marina, and you couldn't really walk on it because it was so dense jungle. Somebody bought it and turned it into a little campsite that you could canoe over to and camp out for the night. Hurricane Alley. What are you talking about? All of Florida is Hurricane Alley. That spot don't get hit by hurricanes any more than the spot I'm in right now, or any more than Miami, or like, yo, everywhere in Florida. Oh, the Keys get hit all the time. Like, and man, Key West gets annihilated. Like every 2 years, the entire island gets wiped off the map and rebuilt. Those people don't even leave. They just swim around in it until it leaves and then start rebuilding before it's even gone. East Coast is not safer. No, absolutely not. The East Coast gets hit all the time. And the East Coast is also extremely expensive. Already massive competition for every square inch of land. It's already skyrocketed price and all kinds of restrictions, and freaking, man, it's cutthroat. The East Coast is cutthroat and absolutely not safer. You know, the only spot on the East Coast that I found seemed to be almost immune to hurricanes was Hollywood. This little pocket right between Dania Beach and Hollandale Beach. And if you look at it, the reason why is because these patterns of hurricanes that come, the storm would form off the west coast of Africa, and it would cruise across the ocean below the equator, building, and it come up through the Caribbean and to hit that south tip of Florida. And it would always have all of the entire Caribbean islands and the Virgin Islands and the Bahamas between that storm and that little spot. Like, you go right off the coast of Hollywood and there's all the big islands of the Bahamas. Like these hurricanes would come in and they'd either hit Cuba and go into the Gulf of Mexico, or they'd hit the Bahamas and then go off north and hit North Carolina, or the north edge, or they'd hit Fort Lauderdale just north of it. But they'd either go south or north of Hollywood almost every time. I'm telling you, I sat there and hunkered down on my sailboat, strapped everything down, and freaking put out my storm system, freaking brought it up into the mangroves, did everything many, many times in prep for a hurricane. And all the damage would be just north in Dania Beach or Fort Lauderdale or just south. And my boat would just be kind of sitting there a little extra wet. I come back from bugging out, come back to the boat, and it's fine. I look up in the channels just north of me, it's all ripped up by tornadoes and shit. I'm like, dang. I mean, I've seen some pretty big storms hit and come up that river from the mouth of the bay, coming up the Alafia River. I've seen 3 water spouts form in the mouth of that river coming up at me. There was 3 water spouts at the same time. Like, holy crap. What? I forget, where is Dunedin? I always heard of it. Is that south of Braddon? Or over more south of 41, like near Apollo Beach? Where the... I don't know. You probably avoid Waimama for the same reason. I hear the same shit about there. Dunedin. Yeah. I called him the Dunedain. Oh, okay, yeah. North of Clearwater. Yeah, I wouldn't touch anything on that side of the bay. St. Pete, Clearwater, freaking none of that area. That's all a concrete jungle. But worse is if there's a hurricane and you need to evacuate, you can't, because you're stuck on a peninsula in traffic and you won't get out of there. Like, there's just, the traffic is so insane there that when there's an evacuation, it just, you don't, unless you're already like you gotta evacuate weeks before the people on the other side of the bay even think about packing up. Like, oh, there's a storm coming, go. If you don't evacuate when you first get the notice that it's heading your way, it's like there might be an evacuation. Well, it's too late because the highways are clogged and you can't go anywhere. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The other side of the bay is the mainland side. And it's more rural and there's highways and byways just going up inland. And you don't have to like rush to get inland because you're already inland. You know, where is it? Fort Myers and Stewart are both good areas for a boat cruiser during storm season because you can just go inland through the canals real quick. You can cross the state in a day. Maybe 2 days if you're. Yeah, no, it takes a couple days unless you're really going fast. But you can also grab the protection of going into a lock. That's sometimes an option when a storm hits. Never done it. I've heard of people doing it, and it seems to me like one of the safest places you could possibly be if you're in a boat and a storm's coming. Saw Charlie coming to Punta Gorda. Oh, I remember Charlie. I went through that. I didn't even. Where was I? What year was Charlie? I think I was probably in Hollywood. Or no, maybe Miami. I want to say. I remember I was definitely on a sailboat and I stayed on it through that. I just was like, but I wasn't in the direct. I don't think we got hit directly. I've had some that sit on me for 4 days straight and just post up in one spot. And I'm sitting there in my boat. Jump up every 20 minutes to go grab a boat and tow it back in because it's drug anchor or something, freaking going for the shore. Ooh. And then after the storm, we're the only people around that had any power. Everybody walking around with dead cell phones, and I'm like, man, here, I'll charge it for you. Get me a battery pack, I'll charge your battery pack and give it back to you tomorrow. Yeah, that's another one. Don't get around Orlando. Oh, no, I want to say check out Wakaiba, but don't, because the prices are outrageous there. Let me think. Look at anywhere near Silver Springs, right? Anywhere where there's a waterway, a navigable waterway that goes into the St. Johns River. Because from there you can be well inland, but on a big riverway that you can get to big waterways. To land, yeah. I once took a canoe from Silver Springs to Jacksonville. And this would, I mean, an actual just paddling, no motor, no sails, just paddling and camping gear. Just camping along the way. And it was like 8 days, 9 days. 2 people paddling nonstop for 9 days is about how long it took. 5 miles or less from the ocean. Well, anybody prefer 5 miles or less from the ocean? Let me think. Okay, then you're definitely talking super outrageous price or West Coast. What about the Everglades? You want to go to Everglades City and live in the swamp? You're too far from the beaches. You don't just want salt water, you want an actual beach. Like I'm guessing. Edgewater? Well, that's Central Florida, isn't it? Isn't that around Orlando? Three miles from the ocean. Okay, not Orlando. Oh, okay, there's a lot of little townships called Edgewater in Florida. Glades are expensive. How could all the swampland be so expensive when you're not even allowed to develop it? Like you put a house on it, but that's about it. And you have to use an airboat to get home and to work. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to live in the Everglades without an airboat. Not too sure I'd want to live in the Everglades with one. I just don't love, I don't have that much love for mosquitoes. Yeah. I don't mind dogs. I usually get along pretty well with dogs. It's the people that give me misgivings. Well, if you're talking about the Everglades just west of the Keys, then you're talking about how to do, that's a whole different world. I'm talking about the west coast Everglades is different. like Marco Island to Marathon. So if you're on the east side, you're gonna have, that's like, that's not really America as much as it is like a little settlement of Cuba with a sprinkling of people from all over everywhere else south of the border. And then you go to the east side, it's like European and African American people. And I do fine. I get along in either culture, man. I hang out with Cubans and Hondurans, and I don't care if they're from Cuba, Mexico, El Salvador, or whatever. Um, yeah, that's what I hear. I mean, I haven't been down there, and since I was so, I don't even remember, man. And you know, I just went down there and visited one restaurant to eat alligator. But damn, I've always thought if I had an airboat and maybe a little, I know there's little islands all out there in the glades where you could just go, like, sell, you could buy, but you know, there's all you can do is put a hut on it, and you can never get, it's not like you can get plumbing out there, you know. The city's not going to run sewage to you, and you know, definitely not getting a water supply. You gotta, whatever you're gonna have out there, you have to make it. You have to make either be a, you know, there's really, the well water is gonna be salt. So you'd have to go with a desalinator and rainwater catchment. Or just bring in a lot of bottled water. And you can't really cultivate out there. You're going to grow some tomatoes in the swamp, it's not going to go well. So what are you going to do? You're going to make a living fishing and hunting and, you know, catching snakes for the state. Whatever's out there for sale. We can make the ultimate airboat. We open up shop in Everglades City and build the ultimate swamp boat. We like, forget the airplane engine. This one's got pulse jet engines. make the hull out of 3-inch thick Teflon plates. Or maybe go like a layer of Kevlar, a layer, like a layer of Teflon. Yeah. Like the plastic cutting board material, but like 3 inches thick, so that when you hit patches of dirt and sand and stumps of wood, it just slides across it instead of tearing a hole in your boat. You're like, let's take the boat out. And they says, it's not even on a trailer. How are you going to get it to the water? Well, we'll just fly it there. What do you mean? Get in. We don't need no trailer. And just take the boat down to the river and launch it. There's no boat launch here. That's okay. There's nothing but bushes. No problem. Just push them down and go over them. Slide right over. It's not a problem. There's a gator over there. He'll get out of the way. No, I don't think I'd want to be on a pulse jet powered airboat. I don't think so. Oh. It's scary enough being on an airboat with that big spinning propeller behind you. I don't think I'd want a bunch of pulse jets behind me. And also the noise. Like, the airplane motor makes enough noise. A pulse jet is a different kind of noise. That's a special kind of loud. Oh yeah? You telling me you're all the way up in the Michigan area and you still got some sand from the Everglades? Man, do they know you stole part of Florida's natural resources and took it home with you? Dude, don't get yourself in trouble. When you come to Florida, you're not supposed to leave here with anything. The only thing you're supposed to leave here with is a probation. They want to make sure you owe the state. That way you come back and give them some more money. Welcome back, Max. I see you there. Let me see oh, yeah, no, white powder's a lot more expensive. You can get that in Florida too, but it costs more. And it's really not. It's actually a lot worse for you too. Especially when you get it in your nose and lungs. That Florida white powder is what paid for the development of all of Miami. Most of Miami, Biscayne Bay, Keys, was all developed on white powder money. Blows all the way in from South America. It funded the Conch Republic. It's what spawned the secession from the nation for the Conch Republic. People don't know that. What's the Conch Republic about? Well, the mayor's drug money wasn't getting through, so he seceded from the country. Mowing your grass and the carburetor caught on fire. Oh, shit. Okay. Was it with one of those stand behind lawnmowers, or was it one where he's riding on the seat or on a skate? Like, what kind of mower? It matters. If it's like you're standing behind it and it's got the handle and you're just pushing it, or it's might have power wheel, but like it's a stand behind, walk behind mower, basic, cheapo, little 5 or 10 horse, whatever it is. Yeah, probably like 6, 7 horse, 8 horse mower. Those got the little single barrel carburetor on the side. If it backfired, that means the timing's off. If it lit fire, either he had a wire arcing out and sparking near the carburetor, or it backfired from the engine and lit the carburetor, in which case it would be timing. And the timing on those mowers is set by the shaft key and the flywheel being in position. That means that the shaft key would be bent or sheared off and need to be replaced. I mean, I suppose it could be a leaking valve seat that could allow it. How would you get spark in the carburetor from the engine? It's more likely a wire that's exposed making a spark near the carburetor, or a bent flywheel shaft key. That happens a lot. What happens is when somebody's mowing and they hit thick grass a lot, and it stops the blade so fast that the motor stalls, it puts so much strain on the engine that the flywheel spins out a little and bends the shaft, the shear key on the shaft, or breaks it. And the motor might still start, but it's out of time and backfires and has all kinds of troubles. Pretty common issue with those motors is just it's really just from abusing the mower or not mowing the grass often enough or whatever. If you let your grass get too tall, you need something more industrial to mow it than your basic little lawn cutter. You know what though? I found a lot of jealousy and narcissism and everywhere. Like, I just try not to focus on it, and I try to focus more on the people who aren't like that. I see a lot of jealousy and narcissism in people here, right where I go hang out the people, even my friends and people I do business with, man, there's fucking all kinds of crazy shit coming out of their mouths that's just like, what? That's just the human condition, man. That's our society breeds narcissists. We manufacture them. And then they grow up. Man, all our narcissists, we also breed patsies. Because all the narcissists need patsies and targets for all their freaking abuse. And so people are creating scapegoats for themselves, and it tends to stick. Yeah, Grady Judd's pretty no nonsense, man. Not too thrilled about how Florida's handling the Epstein files, but you know, can't have everything. Can't expect the swamp to drain itself. You know, it's what it is. But I'm glad, you know, look, if you're coming here trying to block traffic and start riots and shit like they're doing all over the, man, yeah, they'll shut you down here. If you come here acting like a gangster in Florida, man, the cops will show you that they are the toughest, meanest gang. And you won't win. They'll just aerate you. No, you see, you got these three-letter government agencies that don't even really have any constitutional basis for their existence. It somehow got put into existence, and some of them don't even have to answer to Congress or the president about way too much stuff. There's just no... Looking at the pattern over, and you look at every major big event in the course of American history since the existence of the FBI, you'll see that we find out like 20, 30 years later, they were involved in it, covering up the truth every single time. It's like Man, don't we see a pattern here? What are you gonna do, man? I'd still rather live here than Cambodia, I'll tell you that much. Yes, I realize that's not saying much. It's kind of my point. But better country than Russia or China. I'd rather live here than China, that's for sure. Russia, Middle East. I can't think of a Middle Eastern country I would rather live in. Even South American, man, there's some beautiful countries in South America, but and what's the freaking, like, can you survive it? I'll tell you why Florida, honestly, why Florida gets such a bad rap and so much crime is because people who are desperate with nothing come here because everywhere else it's freezing. You know, and so like all across the country every winter, when everywhere else is too cold to just stay outside without the right gear, they all flock down to Florida. And then if they get something to do here, they stay. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot to just get by. And then what they do is they just set up a little meth camp in the woods off the side of the highway and start peddling meth to the other homeless people who start peddling it to the freaking people in town. And it's like, they don't even try to hide how, you'll go around here in big cities and just off the side where there's that little patch of woods of undeveloped property or whatever, and it'll be like freaking 15 to 20, 30 people in different little various campsites throughout the woods with piles of, I'm talking, dude, empty luggage, like really expensive luggage carriers that have just been pulled into the woods, opened up and rummaged through. Like, you know that these people are just going around stealing tourist shit and rummaging through it in the camp in the woods and seeing what they could sell for some more dope. It's like day by day, and there's just these big piles of freaking shit out in the woods. I saw that in, oh, over, not, what was that town? God damn, I don't know. Just, you see it all over. You see it everywhere. It's like, man, look, when I was homeless on the street and had to set up camp in the woods, I would go up into some patch of woods there was no other homeless people, and I would, like, just right off near, hopefully somewhere near where I could get to work. And, you know, water, food, the basic necessities. And I'd try to not make a trail. Like, hop over those bushes and then walk around and then do this weird circuit so that it looks like some animal trail. And, like, make sure that your hut is hidden, tent or hut or whatever. Make sure you can't see it from outside. Like, hell, man, I would set it up in such a way that if you're even walking through the middle of the woods, like, you come from this direction, you don't see it. You come from that direction, you don't see it. Like, unless you're 2 feet away. You know, and then do what you got to do to get back on your feet so you don't have to spend all year there. You know, like, damn. Yeah, they're using drones to patrol and look for those camps, but there's so many of them that what do? Like, what are you going to do? Go around town and lock up every homeless person? And you're going to lock up every camp in a patch of woods because, um, like, there's some stolen luggage around it. You can't prove that it's stolen. There's no, like, crime linked to it that you can prove. And, like, you don't know who out of those people stole what. You know, like, unless you catch somebody actually making or selling meth, whatever, like, it's, it's, yeah, flying over, spotting it, and knowing it's there doesn't mean it's dealt with in a proper way that's just. And it's not just to just go targeting homeless people for existing out there in the act of being homeless. But there's a little more than just homelessness going on, and there are things being done that can be targeted, like the freaking abandoned lot Woodland Meth Lab with the freaking big sign out front and a big tarp flapping in the wind that you can see from the highway that says, hey, there's a freaking tramp camp here. Like, they don't even try to hide the piles of trash out front. Like, damn. Could you at least maybe go after those guys? You know, like, yeah, property owners should be, yeah. If you own property and you're not there, you don't know what's going on it, and if there's nothing happening on it, no business, and there's nobody managing it, and you own it, well, then you should be freaking getting rid of it or taking a look at it or put a fence around it or something with some signs that says don't go there. Give cops permission to arrest people who don't have permission, you know, like just give them advance notice. Hey, this property, you see somebody on it and and they don't know me, then yeah, they're automatically trespassed. And yes, I want to press charges. There's signs. You can't get in without getting through the fence. And you can't get in without seeing the signs, then get them, you know? Because, damn, dude. You know, even coming from the guy that used to stealth camp in town, like, dude, there's ways to do it and not be up in people's shit. And if you are, don't trash it. Like certain people just can't follow the rules of hoboing is make sure that the place is cleaner when you leave than when you got there. Cause no damage, cost no one money. Right, you know? And don't advertise your spot. You find a good spot, don't ruin it. Don't bring your dumbass drunk buddies to it. Like, they're not hiding, Susan. They're at the corner of the intersection with a cardboard sign. They're in front of the grocery store. They're wandering the parking lot, hitting people up for spare change. And you know what? Like, that's what it is. But, man, it's not that they don't know what's going on and can't do anything about it. It's that there are serious crimes going on that fill up our jails. And those guys aren't really necessarily hurting anyone until they're like, You know, but they should be going after the freaking perpetual thieves, you know? Like, yo, if you're over there stealing tourist luggage to pay for your drug habit, you need to be put in jail because you're a career criminal. Honestly, I don't even believe in putting people in jail for doing drugs. Honestly, it's their body. It's when you're stealing, robbing, and beating people up and shaking people down for your drug money and your habit. If you're paying for your own habit to kill yourself, so be it. But don't harm others in your process of your path. You know, you want to take your own life, and I can't talk you out of it, and so be it. Like they say, the world's overpopulated. Psst. Who am I to beg someone to keep consuming? Like, I would discourage it. Yeah, of course. I'll strongly discourage anyone from ending themselves because it seems like there's got to be a better option. So, I don't know. Maybe the child predators, I would not discourage them. I would offer them a path straight to the wood chipper. Here you go. Need help starting it? Be like, I know a guy, man. I got you. I'll buy the gas. Here, let me make sure it's oiled up. I don't want it stalling in the middle of the process, you know. I disagree, Salty. Salty Nana, all these rehabs that popped up everywhere just so that people could get government money, yeah, that's a symptom of a much bigger problem. All right? You know, I don't know. Oh, somebody on the water out here. Moving fast, too. At least he slowed down near the corner before he came to the sharp turn in the side stream. Must be a local, knows his way around. He knows where the streams are because he slowed down before the intersection. And now he's hauling ass. It's not safe to haul ass across that island, though. Man. Yeah, he slowed down and went around it. He's about to punch it again. You know, I look at a lot of these government programs that are designed to supposedly help the greater good of the common people, and look, there's the wave from him throwing a wake through out there. Anyway, you know, I get what you're saying, man. There's a I find that these agencies spend a hell of a lot more money on the place itself, the business, you know, the building, the employee, the amount of employees employed in a building for some reason, it seems like there's like umpteen hundred people going to that building, parking in the employee parking, and there's little to no parking for the person coming to get some help from that organization. And there's like way more people getting way more money out of their paycheck than there is actually anybody in need getting the help that the agency was created to give. And it's just like, what the frick? You know, how many freaking bureaucrats have to be hired to dole out some money to the needy? Like, how many times I've seen a homeless person pull up in their beater and they gotta pay, they can't get their food stamps because their appointment's today and they don't have the change to pay for the parking meter to park there, but there's umpteen freaking employee parking spaces and no free parking for the guy going to apply. And then when he does come next week, he can't leave his dog in his car because his car's 2 blocks down the road. And so he ties it up out to the tree, goes inside and comes out, and they're taking his dog away. You know, that's what they go through to get anything. The people that actually need it are actually getting screwed just going there to apply, and like left and right. And yet there's all these high-paid employees driving super nice cars and wearing really nice clothes, looking down their nose at them and trying to find an excuse not to help them. And then it's like they really maximize the public opinion of what they're actually doing. Like, you know, these shelters, some of these places will be like, yeah, we feed the homeless every day, and we run this pantry, and they're always pulling in donations and freaking getting grants, and you think they're just giving out tons and tons of shoes. This month we gave this many shoes to the homeless people, right? And they don't tell you about how many people put that shoe on, walk 2 blocks away, and the sole falls off, and now they're walking barefoot. But they threw away the pair of shoes they had that weren't so bad, and because they thought they got a nice new pair of shoes, but they, well, like, you know, new used, like lightly used, but they weren't lightly used. They were just junk. You know, like, I'm telling you. I agree. Needy shouldn't have dogs, but you know, people with dogs find themselves homeless too, and that shouldn't be a crime. Okay, if I'm homeless and I see a dog that doesn't have an owner claiming him, and I take him on a leash so the dog catcher doesn't put it to death, should I be then looked down upon for that? Like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think it's right for us to say who should or shouldn't be homeless or should or shouldn't have a dog. It's just like, just based on whether or not they're homeless. Like, why isn't there some way for them to apply without losing their dog? You know, or I agree. So, but are you going over there and offering to take care of the dog, or are you going over there taking a dog, putting it in the pound where 3 days later it's going to be put to sleep? Or maybe a week later, because it's a no-kill shelter, they send it to the kill shelter because no one took it home. Like, really? Really? Are you helping the dog by taking it from the homeless person? You know, enforcing laws is a bigger responsibility. Because you can't be like stepping on people's rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness because they're not succeeding. I don't think it's right to just go kill a dog that otherwise would have a little bit better chance with the homeless guy than the pound. Right. No, I'm talking about other, like Colorado. It's not hot outside. There's no alligators going to come, and they know exactly what's going on because it's the tree right outside the door to the food stamp office. They know exactly what's going on. They sit there waiting for you to show up there with your dog. I think, Susan, I think our Congress are bigger moochers than all the homeless people in the entire country combined. Because they sit there and take all our billions and the billions and give it to everything we don't want. And yet, like, they can't even get into office without being corrupt. And I think we have a lot more problems due to corrupt congressmen and corrupt elections than we do due to corruption of food stamp recipients and social aid recipients. The problem is at the top. And I think it's just really Nazi-ish to target the bottom, like the bottom feeders, when it's the top where it starts. It's like going after drug users and then taking bribes from the drug dealer. Like, how are you going to arrest the drug users around town while taking bribes to leave the drug dealer alone? That's called corruption. It's like, that's essentially what we have going on, is all the people in lawmaking are all criminal. They're all criminal. They're all engaged in organized crime, insider trading, freaking all kinds of freaking stock market influence, and you name it, man. Child trafficking and everything else, apparently. And, like, holy crap. Experiments gone wrong on the public, and all kinds of craziness, man, that we're finding out about, and somehow they still stay in office. What does that tell you? You think that America is so stupid that the average American, like the majority of Americans, can't freaking find a better person to run things than the people we got? No, that's not what's going on. What's going on is they're corrupt. The elections are corrupt. And everything else from there down is a problem. Everything is a problem until we resolve that. Like, don't go after the lady with food stamps trying to get a candy bar. Go after the corrupt congressman that has created the situation where that lady feels like she needs to be on food stamps. Jesus effing Christ, man. Look, I see your point of view. And this is why I I'm sometimes ashamed to call myself conservative, because that attitude to, like, go after the victim of the freaking, like, yo, these people living in the ghetto on food stamps are also victims of this system. They didn't really get a choice to do something better. There's not a lot for them. A lot of people don't see a better way out of anything. If only 15% of the population, if the government only taxed the top 20% of the most wealthy people in the country, CEOs and executives, and didn't tax the people at all, just tax them, say, around 30%. And then that could fund the entire government and all the social services that we could need. Yeah, I'm not arguing that there's not a lot of lazy scammers that use children to get on welfare. I'm not arguing that, Susan. I'm saying the system set in place to create that is like just... Okay, look, you got libtards on one side saying shut down the oil and energy companies and they're destroying the environment. And then you got right-wingers saying, well, more people would die if you do that. And both are right. Okay, like, you can't shut down the system that is without creating a better system first. Because you're going to kill people by shutting down the energy. Like, it's just instant wars. So both sides are right, but that should tell us that there's a path somewhere in between that we should be pursuing, neither left nor right. But somewhere in the middle, there's the right path we should be pursuing that doesn't involve depopulating. But where maybe the profits from the energy companies are all spent on independent researchers researching any alternative that may be. Like, I don't know. What could you do? Maybe make all the energy grid a public service. It's, I'll make it public information where all the money's going all the time and who's doing what, who's running it, what they're saying. Because that seems to be a problem. Like, energy companies hiring hitmen to shut down startups. Like, that's actually a thing. Like, suppressing technology. I don't know, what do we got to do? But I really don't think targeting homeless people is where the government needs to be right now. I don't even think targeting the illegal immigrants is where they need to be right now. Yeah, I'm not saying that's not a problem. I'm saying the worst welfare recipients are in Congress, spending the rest of their lives getting paid massive amounts of money that we normal people can only dream of. For fucking us over their entire career. Yeah, well, I'm tired of supporting the traitors in government. and child traffickers and oppressors and organized crimes. Like, I'm tired of all of it, but you know, what are you gonna do? Like you said, we only have one life to live, so I'm going sailing. Like, what are you gonna do? I can't change the things. I can't freaking change the system. I can cast a vote. That doesn't mean jack shit. You know, it's about the extent of my influence. Like, I could talk shit for the rest of my life on YouTube if they let me, and what's that gonna do? Well, might get the agreement of a few people that agree with me on a few things, and that's about it. So, best thing I can do is everything I can imagine to enjoy my life as much as I can for as long as I live, and it harm none. Like, if it harms no one, do what you will. Just try to remember to have fun doing it, because some people spend a lot of energy and time in their lives trying to make enough money to go have fun, and then they forget the whole point. They get so caught up in the money making part of it, they forget the fun part of it. Like seeing somebody mad over some mechanical issue on his $250,000 boat, and he's ready to shoot someone's face over it. He's screaming about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, Jeff. Let's go smoke a bud and talk about this. Let me see what you got going on here. And oh man, that is bad. Damn, I'd be mad too. You know, but how much you spent on this boat, buddy? And oh man, what, $250,000? That's a lot. Why? A lot of money to spend on a boat. Why'd you spend that kind of money on a boat? And he says, well, to go out on the water. And I says, yeah, but why do you want to go out on the water? He says, to take my friends out and do stuff like, you know, to have and he finally comes out with the word, to have fun. And there it is. You spent $250,000 to go have fun, and you're forgetting what you spent all that money for, because you're not having fun. I'm like, dude, I know a man of your resources can overcome this issue way before. You're going to fix this and be out having fun long before I ever get my boat going. And I'm having fun. Like, I'm having fun getting my boat going. And, you know, and he was just like, huh. Yeah, you know, yeah. I mean, at least he didn't want to shoot the guy's face anymore. You know, like he kind of rethought things and was like, yeah, you're right, man. I'm missing the point. If I go to prison, then I didn't have much fun with that investment. You know, fun is an investment, and you really should invest in your own joy. But don't forget the point and end up shooting someone's face off when shit don't go your way, because, like, damn, man, you spent a lot of money on it. Like, just go downtown and file the proper lawsuit and see him in claims, you know, like, damn. But have fun with it. I'd have been like, man, I'm gonna enjoy suing them. You know, Like, I had a company do that to me once. They stuck me hard, and I was like, it's no biggie. Man, my mate's all tragic about it. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? And I was like, that's fine, dude, man. I'm gonna go get a camera is what I'm gonna do. And started taking pictures, and we're like, damn, we'll go spend $120 and file a suit and get them to serve the summons in person with the sheriff. And yeah, we'll go from there. I'm like, what are we gonna do about the car? Leave it with them. They smashed it. Let them hold on to it and store it while we figure it out. Let them sweat for a minute. Yeah, you go to Hollywood certain times a year, gonna be around $750 to rent a pontoon boat for 4 hours. And another 150, 200 if you need a captain. I've seen $10 million boats out there all over inlet that people rent out for the day. And I mean, it don't cost $10 million to rent it, but like $10, $20 million boat that they buy and rent out every day to, I don't know how much they charge, but it's a lot. It's out of my price range. I never priced it, you know. But even just a pontoon boat can get pretty pricey for a 4-hour trip. It may have gone down a little bit. I'm just talking about like what they were charging kind of toward the end of where I was working right before I ditched out. They did all kinds of price adjusting, trying to just figure out what would bring enough business and still make everybody enough money to keep running. It wasn't easy, because the overhead's pretty tremendous for that kind of business if you're doing it right and legal. There's a lot to it. $200 for how long? A speedboat for $200? No captain, just you pilot it? Damn, that's actually cheap. What year was that? Because I don't know if they're gonna... 8 hours, $200. I'm guessing like a 26, 30 34-footer Starcraft or something, like a bow rider. Wow, that's pretty cheap. That is dirt cheap. I don't understand how they could afford to operate, but I don't know, maybe some super rich guy got the docks just inside or something. I don't know. Anybody owns land on Key West is rich. I think I'm gonna make one more cup of coffee and then go bail the canoe out and head into town. I'll have to bring some extra plastic to wrap my phone in case I get rained on, because that is a good possibility. Oh. Hey, you know what? Just because a dolphin comes over doesn't mean you're safe. That dolphin just as likely to attack you as the shark. So, well, not true. Nah, the shark's more likely to attack than a dolphin, but dolphins have known to be pretty violent too. They're not all like Flipper. Some of them bite, some of them have been known to try to grape a person, you know, and that's kind of their culture. They're very intelligent species, and they're very capable and powerful in the water. But they can also be super friendly and kind, and can be way over loving. Yeah, you don't want to just like, you got to treat a dolphin like a wild horse. You know, you wouldn't just walk up expecting it not to kick you in the face, knock your skull off, you know? Like, it'll tear you up. But if you're humble enough and you get to know them, you spend every day over there near where they live, and they come approaching you slowly and decide to like eat from your hand, you know, you might build some trust over time. You know, and in weeks you might even have that horse walking around like your best friend with you. But, you know, it could take weeks or months. It's a wild animal. And humans are really powerful creatures in land with their devices, but we're not really well equipped to defend ourselves against animals without our tools and weapons. You know, we're actually pretty weak as most creatures go. And in the ocean, we have nothing, dude. We don't have, humans don't function in water. We're out of our element. Yeah, well, that's because most dolphins don't like to play with humans. See, there's been a lot of dolphins that have been taken captive by humans and mistreated for a long time, and sometimes those dolphins have been released into the wild and they go and tell other dolphins, and we humans got a bad reputation. Every once in a while, one of the young dolphins wants to come play with a human, and you see the parent come rushing and corral it away and go, "No, let's go over here. We don't play with split tails." You know, the Navy used to train dolphins to carry bombs on their back and go take them to a enemy ship and stick it to it. And you know, in the process of training and misfires and misunderstandings, a lot of dolphins were didn't make it. Your son chasing gators into a pond to wrestle one. Well, maybe he's tired of living. They say Mike Tyson wanted to fight a gorilla too. The furthest I ever chased a gator was out the back porch or off the bike trail. I'm like, get out of here. We're trying to get by. But that was a small one. You know, like when they get a certain size and you go to like try to chase them away, they don't run. They turn and open their jaw. And if they can, they will bite you. Oh no, I believe you. Man, I used to freaking watch what was his name? Steve Irwin. And dude, man, I always thought this guy is gonna get taken by a croc one of these days, man. I'm telling you. I kept just thinking any day now, one of these crocs, the stuff he did with crocs, like there's no way I would even ever consider doing. And then I saw him, like, what took him out and how. And I was stunned. I was like, no, that can't be. Not like that. No, I watched the video and I'm like, no, he wasn't doing anything crazy or. He's not doing anything I haven't done 1,000 times. He's not breaking any of the rules of nature. He wasn't doing anything particularly risky. It was just a fluke freak, like it literally was just one of those crazy offhanded, like even, you know, the stingrays aren't even particularly dangerous. They just like, just the timing of when it came up and noticed him and where he was, it just got him just right. Like both of them, I imagine both were just as startled to see each other, you know. I mean, I guess, dude, like, I know you're supposed to do the stingray shuffle if you're walking on the beach, but not when you're snorkeling above the sand. Like, you just don't disturb it. In fact, I have video of me doing that very thing with 2 stingrays. Like, I was swimming with stingrays in my second video. You know, Steve Irwin, yeah, you know the crocodile hunter from Australia? Ah, good choice. That is impressive. You know, I couldn't by any means call myself a marksman at anything but maybe pool. Like, I'm pretty much a dead eye at that. But shooting, I'm not like, hey, every time I've ever shot, I scored pretty well. But it's like, it's very seldom that I go shooting. Like, it's just not something I do often. It's like, it's something I did a bit when I was a kid on the farm, and then did it a little bit when I was an adult in the city, going to the gun range. But, you know, like, I don't regularly go to the gun range and fire a gun because I just don't feel the need to. I'm not going to war. I'm pretty confident that, you know, most firearms I can pick up, analyze, figure out the mechanisms, and use them within a few minutes of, like, just like, okay, let me make sure I know where the safety is and where the freaking magazine release are. How do you release the freaking drum, or, you know, how do you clean it? You know, how do you make sure it stays in working order? Like, I'm gonna look at that kind of stuff, and, you know, but it's not that complicated of a thing. You know, people for a long time have been using the things, and there's so many different styles, but, you know, they're all pretty well, they're not super hard to figure out. You know, you don't have to be an engineer, you know, to figure out how to get a SKS to fire. Or, you know, there's not a lot of difference between an SKS and an AK-47, okay? You know, I know there's a ton of different types of weapons for different freaking penetration, different stopping power, different purposes of all kinds, you know, like, I get it. I study that a lot. I like to look into ballistics a lot. But I don't spend a lot of time training with a weapon. You know, it's like, yo, meat of them bushes is all I would ever shoot at in any given situation. All I'd be shooting at is from here to those trees, those bushes, you know, like, most places in the city, that's the same thing. Like, what do you live in, Utah? And you live in the desert where you could see for 3 miles in all directions. Like, you know, I'm not trying to shoot somebody from 4 miles away, and I'm certainly not trying to shoot a deer from 4 miles away. You know, if I was hunting bear, I'd probably want more range. You know, I would definitely want a good amount of range. But you really don't want to shoot a deer from far away or chase it far either. Don't take a shot at a deer if you're not confident you can take it down really quick, because you don't want to be chasing it for 2 miles up in the woods, and as you're just about the time you find it and start picking it up and looking at it, there comes that big bear charging you for it. Like, that's my deer now. And he might have you for lunch and then serve the deer to his babies. You know, you don't know. Like, you know, I always think, people think, what if the whole system collapses? You know, look, if there's a big war on our country, I'm sure there's enough guns that whichever side I take will have one for me that I can work. You know, I can work it. You know, and like, otherwise, I'm just looking at not engaging anyone. If what I would be bringing is a little pea shooter, like a 22 long rifle that I could get really quiet, a suppressor on it, and I could freaking like take out some small prey and no one heard it. You know, I don't give away my location because I'm up on that little spot out in the middle of nowhere, like trying not to be seen. I'm the guy that would just go try to wait for it to pass, most likely, unless it's something so big I just can't avoid. Then, okay, well, where's my weapon? Where's the front line? You know, which side are we on? You know, what else are you going to do? I'm pretty confident in a lot of situations. If I really needed to, like, say there was an invasion, if you're smart enough, all you need to do is get one person's weapon from them to upgrade your weapon. You know? And even a slingshot can do that if it's used in the right situation at the right time, in the right conjunction with the right, you know, I mean, hey, anybody can get lucky. But I'm not trying to gear up to go to war. Because I can't defend the country against the enemies better than Uncle Sam can. And I certainly can't defend myself against Uncle Sam. So, whatever. Like, I might just be trying to take a deer. Or scare away a bear. Wars are for the young ones. Like, man, the young generation that wants to fight. And they still think they're invincible. I think they should take violent repeat offenders and offer them to either go to this war or freaking like just spend life in prison. Here's your last chance. You want to be reformed? Go fight to prove it. And then just put them in the worst of it. Wait, you divorced when you found out he's gay? Are you still there, Susan? You found out your man was gay? But wait, how'd you have kids with him if he was gay? He can't be gay, it would be bisexual. Okay, so you had a husband. Was he not into you? Because, see, that don't make sense. I can't understand why a woman would give up a bisexual dude. It seemed like that would work out better for her. Like, couldn't you have maybe used that to make yourself end up with two men serving you? I mean, I had a girlfriend, found out she was bi, and I'm like, bring her over. Like, how does she feel about me? Because, I'm not down with being left out, but, if you want to share, hell, how good, what does she look like? Is she cute? She smart? So he had you and chose balls, is what you're saying? Dang. Yes, it is, but marriage kind of implies that you're going to be having some. And you know what I don't understand is when a couple gets married and one of the two for years and years hasn't put out to their lover, to their husband or wife, and is freaking out, stalking them, just looking for the chance to pounce upon them the minute they get with someone else. And it's just like, what the fuck is this madness? Like, if you don't want him, let him be happy. But like, I get that there's more to a contract than sex, but at the same time, you, by marrying someone, are saying you no longer rob the right to have sex with anyone but me forever and ever, and yet I'm not going to give you any. That's kind of twisted and sick and narcissistic, actually. It's really crazy, actually. I kind of think the whole contract is a little bit unreasonable. Like, yeah. Well, I'm a big proponent of truth between two. Like, if you pair off with someone and your life partners, and your partner has got an entire life that he hasn't told you about and has been lying about and bullshitting you into believing you have the nature of your relationship is not what you think it is. That's not okay. Like, if they're making decisions that profoundly affect your life without you even being consulted, that's not okay. That's called cheating. Like, what's the difference between an open relationship and a cheating relationship? Well, honesty. It's like, okay, if you must go bang someone else, at least I know. And now I understand that I have the option to do the same. And we're still in this life partner thing together, apparently, for now. Like, I have the choice to either stay with it or leave. I understand that the conditions of the relationship have changed now because it's been presented, like that's what a partnership is. And like, you got to consider, what vows did you agree to at the whole onset of it? And what vows did you place, what expectations did you place on your mate? And is it really an even table, or are you just BSing your way into a situation with them that they would otherwise not be in? Yeah. Yeah, that's betrayal. Where they're just like, you have to ask them point blank before you realize they've been guzzling goo the whole time. Like, yeah, there's something wrong. That's a whole other life. No, I agree, Susan. That should be grounds for divorce. Like, it doesn't take more than it. I'll end it long before something like that. Like, if I even feel like I need to ask, I'm already walking out. Like, I didn't even ask. Like, you know what? If I'm with somebody and I think they might be cheating, I don't wait to. This is why I don't get married. It's a contract you can't just step out of. And it's like, look, man, if it feels like you're cheating, then it doesn't matter if you're cheating or not. Like, I don't want to know. I just need to leave because it feels like it. You see, there's a problem. If it feels like my mate's cheating, there's a problem. It's either her or me. But there is a problem. I don't know who necessarily, but I can leave telling myself, yep, that was a problem. It's not working there. And I don't have to define the problem. You see, because then I don't have to peek through the bushes or sneak through the phone. I just go. Because it's just, why? Well, because something ain't right. It ain't working for me. Well, what did I do? No, it's me. It's me. This isn't doing it for me. You see, I don't really have to explain, but if they demand an explanation, it's like, well, it's really simple. Either you're cheating or I'm not getting the kind of emotional support that I need from a lover to feel like I'm not being cheated on. Either way, it's a problem. Either you're not ready for this relationship or I'm not ready for this relationship. One or the other. I don't know which. I don't care which. The point is that it's not ready. One of us ain't ready, and I think it's you. You know? And I don't want to argue over who it is. I'm just going to accept that it is what it is and leave. And after a lifetime of holding that policy, I'm still not sure if it's me or them. Like, I'm pretty sure it was them. Now that the more I think back on past relationships and I consider the girls that I know didn't cheat on me, I'm like, now that I think about it, she probably was cheating on me. And I was just still naive. I'm just like, yeah, me too, Susan. I saw that message that got blocked. It says you're just happy you didn't catch any HIVs. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I haven't. I haven't been checked since the last time I did something little questionable, but that was, whoa, so long ago. I'm pretty sure I don't. as far as I know, no AIDS, no hepatitis, and not even herpes. You know, there's like what, 50, 60% of the population that has one form or other of herpes. It might not be that high. I could have to check the stats, but it's pretty high. Maybe it's 40%, but it's like, whoa, damn, pretty close to half. Like almost half the people you meet have that gift that keeps on giving. And then it won't go away. It might go away for a while, but it keeps coming back. And yeah, these days, if I just met somebody and they were just trying to throw it on me, I'd be, nah. That's all the time. I'm like, yeah, no, it's okay. Because look, we're going to have to use all kinds of barriers and protection, and I ain't even going to feel it, so why bother? Like, could we go down to the clinic together? And first of all, like, just move in so I know who all you're banging. But nah, I don't want you here. Yeah, it's a mix. Yeah, it's like such a freaking conundrum these days trying to freaking settle on a mate. At my age, I'm like, why bother? Like, just wait another few years and I won't care about diseases because I'll be freaking in the grave anyway. When I get 1 foot half in the grave, I'm bound to get real freaky. And a lot easier. I'm gonna be like, dang, man. So like, I'm dying of heart failure and lung disease. I got 6 months to live. AIDS takes 8 to 10 years to freaking break out and kill you. Ah, fuck it, let's do it. Like, uh, yeah. Many times I thought I met a pretty girl that I could work with and freaking bite over and see how it's like. And man, one night, and I'm like, oh, hell no. Is this like this every day? This is her best foot forward? Oh, God, no. Fuck no. Oh, man. All right, I better just get up and start bailing water out of that canoe. Because I'm telling you, if I don't get at it, it'll be raining before I get started and it'll be too late to do it without getting drenched. Give the fish a little coffee, since I can't seem to finish a second cup in a reasonable amount of time. Let me see. Lighter. Light it. Can't bring cigarettes because I don't have any. Oh, socks. Let me see if I can find some socks. I can't go to town without a little sock appeal. It's important to be able to have good socks. Don't worry about it. Gives me an excuse to go to town. I gotta get to town and get coffee. Because I just drank my last cup and I drank half and gave the other half to the fish, which they don't really drink coffee. When they say me dump brown water over the side, for some reason they shy away from it. Wonder why. Alright, I'm gonna mute for a second. Trio 5. Trio 5, man. Trio 5. You study me. Yeah, I don't know too much. I don't know. If you buy the cigars, they're like $2 or less. Better roll up my pants. I got a feeling that canoe's full of water. Drop these curtains just in case it gets a little out of hand. You never know. Okay, what else? Bring the trash. Oh yeah, a lot of water in there. Holy moly. Okay. Let's see if I can get around you and leave the camera in place. I don't know how that's gonna work. This could be tricky. Still there.
That's a lot of water. Okay, I gotta get out of it. Too much water to sit in it. Wow, this is gonna be a minute. This is just a few hours. I'm glad this thing has positive flotation in it. I have a pump, but this is a little faster. I don't get this paper or cigarette butts in the water. There's one, speaking of the devil. Yeah, this is a daily routine this time of year. Getting there. Just in time for some more to fall in there. Just getting in a rhythm. Another cigarette butt. Mostly leaves and twigs, but still gotta keep an eye out. You never know what will Village. I didn't get into this life to get in a hurry. That'll do. Ooh. Anybody still there? I'm not talking to myself. I don't know what I missed, but I got the water out of the canoe. So I hope y'all had fun with that. Now let's go over here and untie the bow. There's our weather report right there. Skies look like this today, with a chance of that the other and the third. And okay, there's our bow line. Stern line. Put the lee board in place. Okay. Let's go get some shade over here. Too bad I can't stay in that channel where it's 30 degrees cooler. That's like sleeping under the overpass in the middle of the traffic lane. Can't do that. Oh wow, look how high this tide is. You see these branches on this tree in front of me, just to my left of my bow. That is a spot I often go under those branches for shade. Just to give you a reference, if you look on the shoreline, you don't see any brown or wet marks. I think we're getting the beginnings of the, the late season high tides start. I think they peak sometime in October. And that is an alligator in front of me. Just went under. They're so hard to get on camera. And I need to get a camera that's mounted on my head that can just live stream through my phone. I can just turn and look at it. Zoom in with a button on my hip or something, I don't know. On the head strap, little button to zoom in and out. Focus. That should autofocus, but to zoom. I'm paddling through here looking for a gator sighting, holding the camera between my legs like this and paddling, and I get past a spot and the gator jumps out of the woods behind me and into the water and disappears. I look back just in time to see it. But the only thing the camera gets is the sound of a splash behind me. And that's how the FWC knows I'm not feeding gators, because they're still afraid of me. much as high tide as I ever see around here. It's one thing about a canoe is it can be really difficult to keep the nose from falling off the wind. Gosh. Oh man. Now we can fall off the wind and turn in. Oh boy. Is that somebody's lost bobber or a tennis ball or something? Something bright orange in the water. I'll check it out on the way back. It's going to a dead end back there. Mostly because I don't want to be in the weather. If I can avoid it, I'd like to get in and out of town before it hits. And that can be hard to predict. Yep. Weekend warriors is about the right word for them. Fortunately, most people that come into here know the waterway pretty well. Like I said, even the guy that was speeding this morning, I could hear him coming through speeding, at least knows where the turns are, where it's hairy and slowed down, and where the little side stream is that you could run into somebody. But I'm still not a big fan of loud noises and obnoxious speeds in a no wake zone, but it's what it is. Look above. Well, hold on, let me get the boat secured to shore. I'm trying to do this while holding a phone. Let's see. See if I could set you in my shoe. You can't go by the look of the clouds above. Horizon to horizon can change real quick in Florida, especially this time of year. And it does. Ooh. Oh, my back. What's up, man? Motor just stalled. Alright, y'all. Not much left to see for now, but a bunch of walking. So, I'll see y'all later. Till next time.